if the rake man's not good at what he does, it makes this a lot of work.
So every time we hit one of these corners, then I say, watching where your hand's at, right? You're over there basically with your hand on the kicker.
Yeah, I don't want to miss the wagon, and then I got to pick it up and put it in the wagon.
That's right. Nobody wants to pick up the bale.
No.
The six, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here, out to show you a little bit on how to run a small square baler with help from one of our service technicians, Jacob. We've done a series of videos out here with Rick's Custom Baling, and you're actually one of their past employees?
Past, current, I don't know.
Past, current,
I just can't get away.
Let's say you're a real asset to us out here today. There's great appreciation that I will have for people like Jacob when it comes to being able to get out in a field and actually show how a piece of equipment can be run and maintained. There is no replacement for the experience that these guys pick up out doing real work for you. And when it comes to fixing your equipment and that kind of stuff, the experience that folks like Jacob have is absolutely like unmatched to guys like myself, right? You can't just have a book knowledge of this kind of machinery. It takes the field time that these guys have developed over the years to really be knowledgeable about this stuff. So come along with us here today. Jacob's going to show us some of the finer points of running a small square baler. You help these guys regularly?
Yeah, I worked for them before I came to Essex, all throughout high school, and then once I graduated, I needed something a little more substantial, so I went to Essex, and in my free time, I still help Rick out as much as I can.
Cool. What is your typical equipment that you work on day to day then? Is usually what?
Small balers, skid loaders, lawn mowers. We get a little bit of everything in our store.
Yeah. So when you're running small squares, you're coming back from the tractor. Obviously, the PTO is running the baler itself. Yep. And you got how many hydraulic functions, and what do they do?
So you have three. One lifts up the pickup. One moves the thrower back there so you can control where your bales go. And then the other one swings the tongue over from transport to where it is now, going down the road.
So generally your pickups in float.
Yep.
And then your other two cylinders are just regular double acting.
Yep.
So we're making small bales like this. Some balers you have to weave with.
Yep.
Are you concerned about where the windrow is in relation to the pickup at all here?
Not necessarily with this, because they're big, fluffy, rotary rake rows. I try to do that more when you're, like, for say a roller bar rake, when you get real tiny rows. You kind of got to watch how you feed it, or you'll get oblong looking bales. We call them banana bales.
Is that more if you're not feeding enough?
Yes, if you're not feeding enough, all the hay will go to one side of the bale when it cuts, and it'll be really misshaped. So
the goal is to feed enough hay into the baler that it gives you proper size bales.
And just efficiency.
Right.
You want to not run over that.
So that's driving your ground speed a little bit then too, right? So if we had a thinner windrow, you'd gear up in order to try to stuff that thing full of hay fast enough.
Correct. And you want to try and each bale should be around 12 plunger strokes, so you can count how many times. You should pop out a bale every 12. That would be the most efficient.
Okay. So would that cause you then, like if you were driving faster then,
correct,
or your windrow was thinner, that might cause you to vary the PTO of the baler a little bit?
Yep.
Or not? Okay. PTO-wise, any artistry to how fast you're running that at all, or is it just hit 540 and go?
Just try and aim for 540. Hope for the best.
So every time we hit one of these corners then, I say, watching where your hand's at, right? You're over there basically with your hand on the kicker.
Yeah, I don't want to miss the wagon, because then I got to pick it up and put it in the wagon.
That's right. Nobody wants to pick up the bale.
No.
So we've got a pretty substantial windrow here, fast enough that, I don't know, would this thing eat a whole lot faster than this?
Oh yeah. If we were in a nice big flat field,
yeah,
we could probably gain a at least another mile per hour. But this is not a big.
This is not big. That's
or
yeah.
flat.
Yeah. When we were in the rake tractor earlier, one thing we were trying to talk about a little bit was that, like, you know, some people would look at this and think, oh, you're just out there stuffing grass into a cube.
Yeah.
And there's an art to this.
Yeah, there's a lot of time that goes into it, even in just upkeep on these machines. Because there's a small window to make hay, and you want these things to work as best as they can in that small window.
Yeah. So other stuff in here, right? You got a control on the right-hand side for throwing distance?
Yep, that's the throwing distance.
And that's what? The pump for that is driven off the PTO?
Yeah, well, it's driven off that belt right there on the flywheel. And there's just a servo there that controls that.
So you're changing, as the wagon fills up, you're dialing that back a little bit. And then on top of the baler, you got a gauge, that green, yellow, red.
Yeah, that's your pressure.
That's your bale density, I guess, right?
Basically, yes.
Okay. And then what's the 1 through 6 beside it?
That is for your thrower distance.
Okay. So that tells you where you're set because you can't really gauge.
Yep. So if I run this down the whole way, it'll take it up to 1.
Okay.
Because this is second cut, they're heavy. I'll have to try and run it a little above 3.
Is density something you have to monkey with a whole lot, or is that usually a get it right? And
only when you go to a lighter crop like straw. Straw packs in weird, so you got to crank the density down. But that's really the only time we ever have to mess with it.
I see he's got crop saver on this too, so that's our monitors over on the right-hand side.
Yeah, right now it's 11%.
So what, there's 2 monitors over there though. One's so...
We try and compare the 2 moisture monitors because no moisture monitor is 100% accurate, so we try and use both of them.
So there's moisture on both the Harvest Tech monitor, and then the other one on the right is just moisture.
Yep, just moisture. And they stay pretty close to the same all the time.
And is the cameras for other implements?
The camera is actually for hooking up wagons.
Okay.
If you swing the thrower over, you can see the pin for backing up, hooking up to the next wagon.
So out here driving this thing, when we were running the rake and tractor, we were kind of talking about how it's a little relaxing. This is not so relaxing.
No, there's a lot to watch.
Oh, yeah. So as we're moving along here, you're clutching right there, right?
Yep.
And that's what, a reflection of a fat spot in the windrow?
Yeah, there's heavy spots and light spots, and when we get to these heavy spots, I'd rather not run it all through the baler at once and break a shear bolt.
Okay.
So I try and just ease into the clutch a little bit to slow down.
So if somebody doesn't rake this properly, what does that take from you then?
I really got to pay attention, kind of weave throughout the row. Just takes a lot more effort on my part.
Yeah. Boy, that's a lot of hay. When you're filling the pickup, is there a difference in feeding it from the left side, right side, or center? Does it really, in a baler like this, doesn't matter?
With a baler like this, it doesn't much matter. I mean, in lighter hay, you want to try and get it as far to the right of the pickup as you can, just so it has less distance to travel. But in this heavy hay, it fills up the whole pickup.
One thing that you can't see, or can if you're watching video on this thing, is the surging of the tractor back and forth, right? So you can feel as the plunger in the baler goes back and forth, and it brings us to do. You can probably hear the engine noise a little bit as that thing pulses. It's a little tiring, frankly, right? Because your body is always front and back and front and back. Jacob, shake your hand. Thank you for the time today. Hope you guys enjoyed that, just the time that it takes to go out and actually show how to run one of these. Maybe if you're learning one of these for the very first time, a couple of tips that Jacob was able to give you here today might help you do it a little bit better. And maybe to have a little bit of appreciation too for the skill level that guys like this have when it comes to running, maintaining, and taking care of this equipment. You're gonna find this from a lot of our service technicians is the real world experience of being able to run this kind of stuff, because you can make real good careers out of the knowledge that you know of these machines out in the field. So If you have any machinery you'd like to have worked on, I'd love to be able to get guys like this out to be able to work on your equipment. It's kind of what we do at Messick's. It's what makes us good partners to customers when we have assets like this in our dealership. So available for any parts sales or service needs that you might have. You can check us out at messicks.com or give us a call at 800-222-3373. So how do you do this one now? Do you crank the distance up and overshoot it?
There's a hole back there, up on the top, between the back and the front here. And I'm going to try and drop most of the details.
Right there! It's like Tetris.
Yeah, it is.